Great afternoon, everybody. What did I say? I didn't say good afternoon, only some of you said good afternoon, but I said, so everybody together, great afternoon. It is not everybody, I got satisfied with your response. Everybody, including those on the stage and off the stage, great afternoon. Respected Vice Chancellor and good friend, Dr. Ramachandran, the Director, Academics, Dr. Stanley, the Registrar, Deans, the other members of the faculty, and above all, dear students. Recently we had an event which shocked the world, where one little girl stood and braved for one cause for which she was passionate, and that cause is education. And who was that girl? Malala. And that is a symbol of the importance of education in the world today. The Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ramachandran, has read out many of the achievements in terms of literacy that India has achieved over the last more than 6 decades. But unfortunately, despite the growth in literacy, I think the number of educated people today are even less than those that existed when India gained independence. This is a radical statement that I'm making, which no educationist, no policy maker in the country would probably support or speak. But it is out of a sense of conviction that I say this. There is a vast difference between literacy and education. You may be able to read and write and even speak well. But if you are not able to think well, if you are not able to prioritize the values of life, you are not truly educated. And what is the very value that education institutions are imparting to students and those who are not even educated, those who don't have the opportunity to step into the portals of such institutions? What do our premier institutions of the country like the IITs and IIMs indicate when they take pride that their best students have drawn a 5-figure salary? Every year, year after year, you read it in the papers. What are they signaling? They are signaling the greed for lucre, as if that is the goal and purpose of getting a degree or an education in such institutions. When the premier institutions of India and the world, including Harvard University, takes pride in only the numbers, education fails to fulfill its purpose. And that is why, out of this sense of conviction over the last 30 years, even when I was a student, in the year 1981, I said, how do I create a pulse, a thought process by which I can continually improve, continually educate myself? And that is why in the year 1981, I discovered one part of that key to education. The key to holistic growth. Education is not about chasing numbers. When you are in school, your parents and teachers condition you to think that it is about chasing numbers, of scoring high marks and percentages. And that obsession will continue with you when you become CEOs of companies, when you join various professions around the world. And that is why when the world went through another economic recession in the recent past, Alan Greenspan, who was the manager of the Federal Reserve, when he was asked, why is this repeatedly recurring? He said these crises will continue to happen as long as man does not find a way to deal with human greed. So an education institution, when it takes pride in the salary and compensation drawn by its best products, gives a wrong signal to the entire world. And our IIMs, our IITs are equally guilty with the Harvard University. So a new paradigm of education is required. A new paradigm of thinking is required. And that is why in 1981 I discovered one part of it, which is be at it, simple, monosyllables, be at it. The superficial meaning of be at it is, if you stay with a subject long enough, you are bound to achieve what you are looking for, or even what you are not looking for, by virtue of serendipity. So be at it in one sense means persisting. But what does education teach mankind now? It is more of the ingrained monkey mind. On this very IT corridor, you will find IT workers crossing the road to join a new employer. And that's why when I took sessions for Infosys and Wipro, they said that is why we are all located next to each other, so that we can just cross over. What is a monkey mind? A monkey mind is a mind that is not focused. But if we can find the key to the monkey mind, we can turn it into a monk mind. That means a detached mind. A mind that practices attached detachment. That is the hallmark of education. Possessing something as if you don't possess it. You may draw the highest salary in the world, but you draw it as if you're not drawing it. You increase your net worth in financial terms, but you are not, that is not the summum bonum, the be-all and end-all of life. It happens incidentally. And that is why I created this new subject for the world, which is called economics. Instead of this current number-driven paradigm of education, instead of this current number-driven world and the nations of the world, let us have a word-driven education. Word. All of you can get more details of my ideas and the inspiration that led to it from this book called Word Empowered Life. For your sakes, I'm making it available free of cost on Kindle from the 15th of this month for 5 days. For 5 days, all of you and all of the people in your network, in your circle of influence, you can tell them to download free of cost this book, Word Empowered Life. And you go through it and give me feedback. That is the only price you have to pay. And recommend it to, if you are touched, if you are influenced, if you are inspired, if your thought process has changed, you let me know. So over the last 30 years, I have been tinkering with these ideas. And in the year 1994, 13 years after I discovered Be At It, I said this is not the complete key to the human mind. What is the complete key? As each of you continually ask yourself questions, this is called creative questioning. The human mind will throw up the answers. And that is why people like Thomas Alva Edison, unschooled, uneducated, have not been to the portals of an institution like this, turned out to be the most productive of human lives. Because he stayed with the problem, be at it, till he achieved a solution. He tried 10,000 experiments to discover electricity. When he was asked, why did you have to do 10,000 experiments to discover this electric bulb? He said 9,999 times I discovered how not to discover electricity. At the 10,000th time, I discovered electricity. You and I do not discover anything because we do not try enough. And therefore, education needs to train the mind. That is the first thing. The mind, my friends, is not a vessel to be filled, as it is now being treated, but a fire to be kindled. There has to be a passion that is born in your heart and your minds, which will consume you like a fire, which you are thinking about all the time. Now, what are you thinking about all the time? You're thinking about, the god of cricket. Yesterday I posted a tweet on Kiran Bedi, and she in turn retweeted it. She said, wow! I said that in the FOP multimedia training, of which I am ex officio director for the last 10 years, when we ask audiences like you, sitting along with policemen, who does more useful work for the country and for people? Is it Sachin Tendulkar or the average police constable? What is your answer? What's your answer? How many of you say Sachin Tendulkar? There are only 4 or 5. Don't laugh at them. They are right in their own way. And how many of you say the average police constable? So the vast majority here say the average police constable. And that is the reaction I also got. Initially I thought this would be almost blasphemy, because I am questioning somebody who's treated as a god. How can a god retire? How can God fail? How can you bring the concept of God so low, so down? What is your concept of God? A whole nation, including some people who have been fellow scholars with me in London School of Economics. I heard it last night, and I was ashamed. One of the leading, media people in the country, unabashedly joining the brouhaha, the hysteria. I'm not trying to pull down a man who has done much for the game of cricket. But we need to have a sense of proper assessment if we are educated, proper valuation of ourselves and others. What is the real value of a man's contribution? And then the next question which we asked to those audiences all over the state. The FOP Multimedia Training Workshop takes place every year in every district, in every city in Tamil Nadu. We asked, who is the real hero? Is it Sachin Tendulkar or the constable? Almost unanimously, everybody voted for the constable. But the constable continues to be neglected, continues to be abused, demeaned, looked down upon, while the other person is left on a pedestal, over-rewarded, over-hyped. This is a sign of lack of education. The most so-called educated people are the ones who contribute to this. And therefore, I wrote a Philippism. Philippism is not a pun on my surname, but it is Philippism, which I write every day. And this Philippism said, what we need today is not a new breed of icons, but a new class of iconoclasts. Who is an iconoclast? An iconoclast is one who breaks icons, who exposes the clay feet of icons. The very word icon, if you're truly educated, you'll realize it means icon. Icon myself and icon others. Icon myself that I am God, and icon others also. And that is why all over the world you will find the icons falling like 9 pins. Bill Clinton, the icon in US politics and global politics. Tiger Woods, Lance Armstrong, David Devida in the publishing industry. And any number of names that have hit headlines over the last so many decades. So what I realized is we need to find a way to not only be at it, which means persist on the positive, but we also need to beat it. Beat it means beat the negative. An educated person not only leverages on his strengths, but also works on overcoming his inherent weaknesses. And growth comes in two ways. In further augmenting your strengths, each of you have some positives, and that is why you are in this institution. Each of you are what you are because of your strengths, but you are not what you should be because of your weaknesses. But so far, the world has not found a thought process which deals with both strengths, increasing strengths, and dealing with weaknesses. And that thought process which I discovered is called EQ thinking or equilibrium thinking. You can access it. All of you can join my Facebook page called eqthinking.com on Facebook, as well as access the website eqthinking.com. I have taught more than 2 million people this thought process with very salutary benefits, nothing very dramatic, but you will yourself realize there is a dramatic change within you. Change, my friends, is only one thought away. It is only one decision away. It is only one action away. By the end of this speech, each of you would be changed to that extent. One thought, be at it, beat it. How do you apply it? On my Facebook page, I've written applications for students. It has attracted the maximum number of views. EQ thinking for students, EQ thinking for women, EQ thinking for prisoners, EQ thinking for police officers, EQ thinking for teachers, EQ thinking for lawyers, for professionals. Basically, the commands that you need to use are only binary, just like all of you. How many of you are students of information technology? Yeah. Thank you. Information technology works on a binary language of, what is the binary language on which computers work? 0 and 1. Your mind also works on a binary language, not of 0 and 1, but yes and no. Yes and no. Your yeses translate into your strengths. Your no's translate into your weaknesses. Your yeses are your belief system. Your no's are the source of your weaknesses, your fears, your nervousness. And therefore, be at it, beat it is a way to strengthen these strengths and overcome the weaknesses on a continuous basis. It's the world's first ATM. What is ATM? No, not money. As I told you, don't be number driven. Be word driven. Anytime meditation. Anytime motivation. You are your own guru. I am not your guru. You find your ATM within you. You apply it. If you have fear as a problem, you apply the binary command from the source code. Be bold, beat fear. As a trainer, I have taught thousands of police personnel, thousands of prisoners, thousands of IT workers, corporate employees, teachers, housewives, students. And all of them have learned how to apply this simple thought process. Your books make it so complex that you leave the school, the college, the university without hardly any change happening in you. You grow in terms of knowledge, in information, but not in terms of application, applied knowledge or wisdom. But what is key to you is not the degree that you're going to get at the end of this period of study. You may be here for next 4 years, but it is what thinking skills you acquire. Because that will lead to your feeling, your emotional intelligence, your EQ, your ability to manage your own emotions and also understand the emotions of others. The world is looking for a way to improve EQ. Daniel Goleman says this is the holy grail of education. If you find a way to improve EQ, then you'll automatically improve productivity. You'll improve human effectiveness. But they're yet to find a method to improve EQ. But EQ thinking, which doesn't stand for emotional quotient but stands for equilibrium thinking, will actually increase instantly and continuously your EQ or emotional quotient, your emotional intelligence, your ability to understand your own emotions and apply it to the task at hand. You will improve your persistence so that, like Thomas Alva Edison, as a researcher, you are willing to try thousands of times. I tried millions of times to find a way to transform my own mind. And that is how I arrived at this thought process, which has eluded psychotherapists and psychologists like Freud. Be at it, beat it. My goal is to teach 1 billion people like you in my lifetime. Because what thrills me is creating change. If a person hears these things and they are little improved, an incremental difference is there in their life with this concept, my goal is fulfilled. I have repaid my education. But this is at the individual level, the micro level which you can apply. But at the macro level, economics. What is economics? Economics is the study of excellence in all its dimensions. You pass through an engineering college, and if you are not improved in every aspect of life, not just in terms of your technical knowledge, then education has failed to fulfill its purpose. You are not fully availed of the power and benefit of education. But economics means you continually improve. You don't compete with your classmates. Now the education system has taught you to compete with your classmates. And therefore you have a bell curve, a highly skewed curve of human performance in academics as well as in the real world. A few toppers at the top. I have been there. I stood first out of 1 lakh students. But it is not standing first that counts, but what did you do with it further? So what we need is a more, not an absolutely even playing field, but a more even curve. When I taught 100 MBAs in Kavi, in Loyola Institute of Business, some 10 years ago, after 3 months the Vice President sent me a letter, which is there on my website, as an endorsement, that we have had many interventions before, but there has been no change in our employees, neither in their conduct or in their performance. But after this 1-hour workshop that you took, and with the CD that you gave each one of them, each one of you can get a CD, which is available at a very nominal price. You need to listen to something 6 times before it becomes permanent learning, and there should be a space between each time of learning. Over a period of 2 weeks, you listen to it 6 times, and then it will start working in your mind even when you are sleeping. That is why I call it ATM, which is not only anytime meditation, anytime motivation, but all the time meditation, all the time motivation. While I am driving in my car, I am running this thought process. It is running by default, even when I am sleeping. It determines the very dreams that I dream. And each of you, this is not something which will apply only to me, but it is a software which will apply to any human being, regardless of age, of background. It has been taught to more than 1 million people in 37,000 social justice tea parties where I was IG social justice. And I got letters in Tamil from the heads of villages, from people from diverse backgrounds saying, thank you for this thought process. It helped us in our family life. So be calm, beat anger is a command, binary command to overcome anger if your weakness is anger. Be loving, beat hatred. Be joyful, beat depression. The World Health Organization says by the year 2020, more than 40% of the world will suffer from depression. When depression happens, you'll find more shootings like in USA, which is happening almost every second week. You'll find more murders, more suicide, more family breakdown, more divorces, more children without parents. And so there is a great, education has not solved these issues. Now take this thought process, apply it to yourself, and then teach it to 100 people. One student in Vellore Institute of Technology never met me. He was in the final year and he was nervous about placement. He was facing competition from people who were better trained, from better backgrounds. By serendipity, as I said, he searched on Google at the time and he hit my website. This was some 10 years ago. And then he sent me a mail and said that this is the most powerful tool that I have found. And we went for the interviews. Each level of the 4-tiered interview of the TCS, the chairman sent a note to the next chairman saying, this chap is so good, we need to take him into TCS as soon as possible. And he went on to become a project leader, a successful human being, a good father. And he's still in touch with me. So it is something that you'll never forget from this moment. Even if you try to shake it off, you'll never be able to forget it. be at it, beat it. That is, you apply it in your own way with anything binary. Every day I do 2 hours of meditation and exercise, holistic exercise. Every exercise involves stretching, that is be at it, and contracting, which is beat it. So every exercise that involves a stretching movement, I think of be loving, be hatred, be joyful, be sadness, be strong, be weakness, that is the pattern. Be positive, be negative, that is the pattern. Mere positive thinking is not sufficient to overcome the deeply ingrained negative. That is what this Rajshekhar wrote to me. He agreed with that statement which he read on my website from Vellore Institute of Technology. Tomorrow, ironically, I will be addressing 50,000 students in a webinar from that very same institute, Vellore Institute of Technology. And I told Rajshekhar, if you have time from your office, you could come there to share your story. So all of you do not think that change is difficult. You don't have to be a Mahatma Gandhi or a Mother Teresa, but you can create change from within you. Change is just one thought away, one decision away, one word away. And you will keep changing throughout your life till the end. And that change for the better is excellence. So Economics is the world's first subject that studies excellence in all its dimensions. If you are not becoming excellent, then education has failed to fulfill its purpose. From the time you entered this college till you leave it, if you're not continually improving in what? Not just in your mere marks or your academic performance, which seems to be right now your be-all and end-all, but in terms of every aspect, in how you relate to people, your social skills, your communication skills, your thinking skills, your decision-making skills, your rapport-building skills, your problem-solving skills, your sensitivity, your empathy for the pain of other people, feeling the pain of another student. Who are the people who indulge in ragging? They are, because they have a masochistic tendency, do not feel the pain of another person. Instead, they feel a sense of joy as that person suffers more humiliation, more pain. And the education system has failed in this sense. But it is not too late. These two ideas, yesterday Dr. Kalyapan, who interviewed me, remember he just interviewed me when I was a student in the same Madras University. He was the head of the Department of Psychology. I went for the National Talent Search Scholarship. And I did well and eventually got the scholarship in the year 1980. But the irony is that he called me last week and he said, can you send me your ideas? He had heard about it. And yesterday he sent me a mail saying that your 2 ideas of EQ thinking and economics can transform education. Because he said right now this education that is in practice in vogue in India is what tends to make us all slaves. Slaves, that's the word he used. And he said these ideas, if implemented truly, properly in every institution. My goal a few years ago was to influence only 1,000 institutions. But today my idea is to implant this idea of EQ thinking and economics in 1 million institutions, not just in India but across the world, because the need is so great. So economics has as the first basis, it is personal excellence. Economics is not complex. EXE means the root of excellence. Nomics means if you pursue excellence, automatically the numbers will chase you. Instead of you chasing a high salary, high productivity and wealth, you chase excellence, automatically numbers will chase you. This is my life experience. I chased excellence and I was selected for the British Gurukul Scholarship with 15,000 sterling pound. I continued to chase excellence. 5 years later, I won the British Her Majesty the Queen's Award for Innovation in Police Training and Development in 2002. These are not coincidences. These are all proofs that any average person like me, if we apply it continuously, we are committed to it, be at it attitude, and then you will beat it. You will beat your inner weaknesses. And you will go to the next level, and the next level, and the next level, and the next level. You will not know where you will stop. So economics can be applied by each one of you, both the faculty here, the institution management, and every student in your own way. Personal excellence is the foundation. Tom Peters talked about excellence some 20 years ago when I was in the bank. But none of those companies which he considered excellent are in existence today. You don't start with organizational excellence. Hindustan University cannot be excellent unless each of you is working. It must be a real-time pursuit and obsession with excellence. When I studied the lives of great men as a young student, one common trait that I found among all of them was each of them, they ate one concept or a value. They slept it, they walked it, they breathed it, they ate it. And therefore it automatically led to a vision. And that vision produced a passion, the passion led to strategies, the strategies led to the realization of objectives, further reinforcing the value. This is the thought process, this is the value system. It continually reinforces so that you will never stop. You can never say, I become excellent. You keep on striving more and more. Economics can be taught from the kindergarten level. When I meet school teachers, school principals, as I often address them, I tell them that you are responsible for stultifying education. I was taught that A for apple, B for bat, C for cat. My children too were taught the same way. You have lost a huge opportunity in one class or a few classes to transform that child's life, the entire trajectory. Instead of teaching them a materialistic alphabet, you teach them A for alertness. When you cross the road, look to the left and right, that is alertness. B for bravery, show them a photograph of students who won bravery awards from the President of India for having saved their younger child or sibling's life. C for calmness, how to be calm. So these seeds are sown at the most tender level in the mind. Imagine how they will shoot up, how it will grow over a 15-20 year period of education. A huge opportunity lost in schools and colleges across the country, just teaching the alphabet. Then you come to school, high school, you ask each student to choose a role model, like Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, an inspiring figure. I choose somebody, whoever you like, you don't prescribe. The teacher does not prescribe. The student should find the person. It could be Sachin Tendulkar, it could be anybody. But you must break down what made him an excellent person. What made him a batting prodigy? Was it his skills or his attitude? Our attitudes are far more important than our skills and knowledge. Today education is in the paradigm of knowledge first, skill next, attitude last. But the paradigm that we introduced in the FOP multimedia training was a revelation, a discovery. Because we said the pattern of education and training should be ASK. Attitude first, skill next, knowledge last. And that will lead to far greater results, even in academic terms. A certain scientist at Stanford University is now doing research on a method of study which catapulted me from an ordinary mediocre student just getting a bare first class to first class first in the entire state of Karnataka. A method which will work for anybody and everybody, however dull or brilliant or bright you are. So teachers should teach students not just to work for high marks, but holistic growth. Physically, you need to become more and more fit. Mentally, you should become more agile. You should be a problem solver, a creative person. Socially, you should be empathetic, compassionate, not just thinking about migrating to the United States or some other, green economy, to greener pastures. But what is the payback that I can do to my society, my neighborhood, my country? And then our nation will be transformed. So economics has all the branches of excellence, personal excellence, and then corporate excellence, then quality standards excellence, design excellence, where engineering students like you come in, design excellence. You don't just study design in a book. You look at nature, see a leaf, and see the structure of architecture in that. How can you apply that concept to a building? So an interdisciplinary approach. Economics is the first subject in the world which will connect every subject of human endeavor as well as study, from astronomy to zoology. The mere connection of unconnected subjects will lead to creativity. I connect completely disconnected phenomena together. The other day I was just listening to one of my own recordings, and suddenly the idea sprang up in my mind that instead of, you've heard of karaoke, which is the Japanese art of singing along. I said the more important than singing is speak along. If I create a software for karaoke, it will turn 1,000 people into orators. Let them listen to the greatest speeches like Martin Luther King, I have a dream, and speak along with that person. Automatically his standard of that person who is speaking along will also go higher and higher, as close as possible to match the high standard. So we can all equip each other abundantly when we pursue this thought process called EQ thinking, and when we apply economics. You can learn more of the details about economics, both the faculty, the management, and the students, by accessing Google. You just ask Dr. Google, what is economics? And immediately you will find a link on www.managementexchange.com, which, as the Vice Chancellor said, is a global portal supported by the London School of Business and 16 other world majors. And it has got the maximum number of Facebook shares on that whole portal, 815 shares just on that portal. And that shows the great need, not just felt in India. I'm not rubbishing Indian education system. I'm also a product of that. What I am today is because of institutions like this. But we need to transform education because there's a huge opportunity for our country. Young people like you constitute the most productive majority of our country. If education really has its impact on each one of you and the young people of our population, our nation will truly surge forward. It will not compete with others to be superpowers, but we compete with ourselves to keep improving, and we collaborate with other nations. It will transform the relationships between nations. I once again thank the Vice Chancellor and the management for having given me this invitation to speak on this very noble occasion of Education Day. Thank you.